Welcome back to our podcast interview series. Today we're talking specifically about remote production and remote recording of interviews, meaning your guest is not in the same physical space as you are. I've seen some horrible examples of remote production and remote recording, and I've seen some fantastic examples. So today I'm going to give you the best practices that you need to know. Hey, I'm Coach Molle from Visibility Hacking Studios, and we do podcasts, live shows, and so much more, and remote production is something that we do pretty much in our sleep. So we're going to share with you, or I'm going to share with you, some of the best practices, best tips that you can ever get to build your brand's visibility with podcast interviews, live show interviews, all done remotely. So if you're one of those laptop lifestylers with a podcast or a live show, you definitely want to pay attention to this one. Being able to record your podcast interview or your live show interview remotely is a game changer because it opens you up to experts and guests from around the world. But there can be some headaches and hiccups along the way. So in today's video, we'll talk about how to make sure that you and your guest are all on the same page. Of course, we're going to talk about how to get the party started, and I'll share with you my number one hot tip for remote recording your interviews. I love interviewing people from around the world because I love the diversity of perspectives, opinions, experiences, and outlooks. But what I don't love about recording with people from around the world is time zones. That can be an absolute headache. I remember once I had an interview set up with a really big name entrepreneur, and I was super nervous, like sweaty palms nervous. And I showed up to our Zoom room and I sat there nervously for an entire hour. And they didn't show up. Of course, I was too nervous to follow up with a message during our interview time because I clearly thought that this guest had just ghosted me, that I wasn't good enough for them to be on my show. It was this whole self-doubt kind of thing that was going on in my head. But I followed up with them afterwards because it turns out that they were in a different time zone and we had just gotten it all mixed up because, time zone changes. So they actually showed up an hour after. Just as I had finally given up and allowed that self-doubt to consume me, I clicked off the Zoom room. They entered immediately after. This could have been avoided. Yeah, it could have been avoided, and all I had to do was use a scheduling app. Once I realized how simple these scheduling apps are and how powerful they are because they help us avoid those kinds of scheduling headaches, I signed up immediately and I haven't turned back since. Use a scheduling app like Calendly. You can simply put in the hours that you are available for your interviews, send out that link to your potential guests, and they can book their recording time based on their own availability in their own time zones. And better yet, those scheduling apps will also connect directly to your online calendars, making sure that that appointment is put into your calendar without having to worry about you remembering to do it. I love automation. It makes my life so much easier. So question of the day, let me know down in the comments if you use any sort of scheduling app, or do you have an interview horror story? Did something go wrong in a process of an interview that either you were hosting or you were the guest on the show? Let me know down in the comments. Now, if you want to get the party started, we already have our guests scheduled with us. We've automated that process. Well, part of that process is also how we get the party started in the first place. That's picking the venue. Because when you use an app like Calendly, it will automatically send the link to your audience member or to your guest. Now let's talk about getting the party started. That is all about focusing on what platform we're on. We're going to need to know what platform we're on in order to automate the process for our guests so that their calendar link goes directly to wherever you are remotely interviewing your people. There's pros and cons to every platform out there. But two of the most popular platforms that I like to use for interviews would be one, Zoom. So many people have access to Zoom. It's very easy to use, and it's very simple to either screen record or to place your Zoom directly into your other streaming platform. So it's super easy to use Zoom as a way to host your interviews. What I love about Zoom is that you can also record the audio on each person's side, but that we'll talk about in another day. Another platform that I love to use because it's so easy is StreamYard. I know there's pros and cons to StreamYard as well, but what I like about it is that I can create ahead of time each of the different recording rooms. So say I have 5 or 6 different guests in the same day, what I can do is create these individual rooms for them to go into, send them the individual links. They can head into the broadcast or the recording rooms before I arrive. Say I'm still in another interview with someone else, and then they can get themselves ready, get themselves on camera, etc., while I'm already doing another interview. But we want to make sure that we pick a platform that we, the host and the producer, can easily use. So don't feel pressured to use one platform over another because you see other influencers or other podcast hosts using those platforms. Use a platform that you are comfortable and confident with because that will ultimately lead to a better show. I don't want you to have your mind focused entirely on, or even partially on, trying to deal with the production side, because I'd rather you have all of your energy focused on connecting with your guest. Talking about connecting, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we've got more videos in this interview series and so much more coming up, and I don't want you to miss it. So I briefly touched on this before, but one big tip that I want you guys to keep in mind is making sure that you're recording in more than one place. For example, if you're in Zoom, what I want you to do is enable the feature that allows your guests to also record the episode or the interview on their computer. This way, if there's a connection issue during the interview, you'll have the best quality audio recorded on each ends of the interview. You'll have your audio in its best quality recorded directly on your side, and then your guest will be able to record the best quality audio from their side. Once the interview is complete, just create a Dropbox or a Google Drive that your audience or your guest can drop that file into, and then you have both best quality pieces of audio. Also helps with the video side as well. So you can hand both of those files over to your podcast or your live show editor, or you can edit them yourself into your episode. This is a fantastic way to ensure that no matter what connection issues might arise, your episode will have the best possible quality audio and video for its final end product. Interviews are a lot. They are so important. They have so much power in terms of connecting us to new audiences and expanding the kind of value and expertise we can provide to our people. But we have to also keep a lot of stuff in mind. It's kind of like juggling swords sometimes. There's a lot to keep in mind, a lot to keep in track, a lot to keep moving. But if you want to simplify the process, then definitely check out the interview checklist that we've put together. It's available absolutely free in the Visibility Vault. You can find it over at visibilityhacking.com/callingmyshot. And down there's also a link in the description. Over in the vault, you'll find access to the interview checklist and so many more tools and trainings exclusively available to you over in the vault, absolutely free. So go sign up for the vault today, and I will see you in our next episode. Until then, remember, I love you. Be excellent to each other. Come back for the rest of the series, and don't forget to go live because your people are out there waiting for you.